Okay, my friends, this has finally happened. I finally have someone who claims to be from CERN and from NASA and has a PhD and all of this stuff, worked on all of the top stuff, and he's working in space, the field effects in space, which we are too. I'm doing the same things he is. So he says right now, he's just laughing at everything, and he just, give us all this data, give us this, give us all that stuff. Well, I show my stuff. So he says if you took the time and effort to sit down, write a scientific paper about what I'm claiming, it would show how crazy I am, how far off I've gone. One of the most important parts of science is peer review process. Nobody will do that. It opens yourself up to criticism and questioning. Yes, question me. I want you to be questioning me face to face, not just to say, oh no, because Einstein said this, oh no, because Bohr said this, oh no, Hubble said this. No, they were all wrong, 100%, because they don't understand the nature of the nucleus and the electron. It is a dark and a white part. It is not just a total negative little electron, and it's not just a big positive proton. So he's saying, and I peer reviewed Einstein. Einstein was wrong. And he says, well, you can't peer review somebody who's dead because they can't answer. I want you to answer, Mr. Castro. This is what I want, and I expect you to answer. And he has been criticizing me, and I love that. I want that. But they have to speak to me, not just criticize me and say, oh, you don't understand, you just don't understand. I will crush him in a Zoom debate. And I'll try to be nice, but right now, as far as I'm concerned, PhD means perfectly happy deluded. He says he worked as a PhD at CERN. So he says, I have a PhD from CERN working on the Alice experiment, absolute nonsense experiment. I use one of the largest pixel detectors in the world to try and measure the thermodynamic properties of the early universe. That's something they have no clue about. They don't even understand that the universe is filled with light particles. I'm not kidding you. He says, I now work at NASA, another one that doesn't understand it either, on using time-pix detectors to measure radiation fields in space. We've already done that, sir. You're a little late on that one there, my friend, Mr. Castro. Okay, Mr. Castro, check this out. As my electron flood theory says, there is nothing but electrons, but they consist of a muon and the electron portion, neutrinos. Together they make up the electron. That's the dark matter, it's the muon, it's gravity. Now, together, two of these, which are electrons, which are nothing more than a little bar magnet. It's really just nothing more than a bar magnet. You put two of them together back to back, just like this, and it is the photons, shown it a million times. So everything is a dipole. As you can see, dipole. Dipoles, dipoles, everything's a dipole. And what is this? These are the magnetic fields in space you're talking about. We've been looking at this for quite some time, sir. If you need a little help with it, I'm willing. Now, Mr. Castro says he works on the largest pixel detector in the world. We don't need him. You can use a cell phone, and they've been doing this for years. We did it 7 years ago. These are the pictures of actual photons. And he's, oh, you can't see them because photons are too small to see. This is radiation. If he understands pixels, he should understand that these are, I think they call them raster. They're little blocks. And within each, there's hundreds and thousands of little blocks within a very, very small size. They're called pixels, megapixels. And each one of them picks up a portion of a glow. And then the processor migrates them together. And some processors can make them very, very, very lifelike. And other processors don't do as well. Well, the Samsung Galaxy 3S from 2012 was the phone that we used. And unbelievable. I mean, these are pictures from back then. This is from 2014, I think. Somewhere right around here. We were one of the first ones to do it. Rod Warren, as I say, he just accidentally created this Venturi, not meaning to. And when I saw the pictures, everybody's laughing at him, saying, oh, this guy's a crazy guy showing these crazy. It's just the same thing the physicists are doing to me. And I'm explaining them. Rod just was putting them out there saying, oh, look at this. He didn't know what he had. But when I saw it, I did. And then I investigated, and for 6 years we worked together, and he kept doing all the experiments that I asked, and came up with things that are just absolutely stunning. Stunning. And by the time we were done, we had what CERN and Fermilab was looking for. And I say that's free energy. And I'll tell you right now, this is our last chance we have for any peace on Earth, is to have no competition for energy. As far as I'm concerned, that's the last chance we got. Okay, so as I said, I applaud Mr. Castro for stepping forward and making his statements and asking for evidence, and here's the evidence I'm presenting. No one understands this, so I can't present big reams of data and so forth. I can show you light from a pulse red laser interacting with the other electrons, basically, because the electrons are the only portion that pushes and shoves. It's the electron neutrino. The black part doesn't push, or it just wants to have those white ones come back. So here's the particles coming through space, which is the air in the room. All of these molecules of gases are being just a taste excited because this has to push them out of the way. It's push to shove. Now, because of our Venturi, which is just a tiny little restriction, the particle has to accelerate. A Venturi is fully understood, but they just never thought about it for light. And this was just an accident. I didn't do this, and Rod Warren was the one that came up with this. Just an accident. He didn't realize what he did either. He's just playing around trying to do a double slit experiment, but he used a single slit and formed it as a Venturi, and this was the result. And what happened was it split the particles here and rejoined them here. That's fission, that's fusion. This is an enormous, unbelievable increase in energy, and I believe we can get free energy within 30 days of developing this. There's no reason whatsoever. Everything exists. This is just pulsed red laser. This is the particle accelerating. From back here, the energy level is almost nothing. Here, it's off the charts, because you have fission and you have fusion. It's supposedly 207 times the energy value if you can take the black and white particles and split them, which we did. And I can show that. And they actually say this at CERN and Fermilab and refuse to engage. Very distressing. I am showing what they're asking for. The black ball is the muon neutrino. There it is right there. The electron neutrino was the white ball. Well, now, because of the Venturi, we separated the white, 100% separated, not a taste of black in here. The muon is just too big to get through our slit. It goes around. It reforms here. That's fission. It's separated. And these are the subatomic particles. These are the tiniest particles that exist, basically light. And then we divided them to create what they call a sterile neutrino, which is all by itself, muon neutrino, and the electron shower as it concusses. This is what they're showing right here. This is all I'm showing is what they're showing. This is not my doodle. That's their doodle. This is our actual work. Now, if you could put a harvester here, hold on. I've shown this again 1,000,000 times, or probably 2,000,000. The laser was just shooting out that beam of light. Well, it doesn't have a whole lot of energy until we crush its fields. It's literally the crushing of the fields that causes this separation of powers. It's the crush of the fields. Now, if we can put a solar harvester in, just past the point of expansion here, we can grab all of that energy back. And then we can put it through our devices, battery packs, whatever, use a taste of it, come back, run that laser. Now we got free energy. If this increases the energy value 207 times, from 5 watts to 1,000 watts, if we can even just recoup a third of that, you're at 300 watts from 5. That's just amazing amount of extra power. And all you need is 5 more watts to come in here. You got scads of extra power. We should never have to burn another piece of coal ever. Not allowed. I was told, because I'm not peer reviewed, this will not be allowed to be seen at CERN and Fermilab. And all the rest of them. I've tried every single one of them. Is that right? You think that's correct? I don't. Okay, my friends, I come to you at a sad time in history, and the only chance we have for any peace on Earth is to create free energy where there's not a competition for these resources and we don't destroy the Earth. This is the key to free energy. We have to understand that what we always thought, the Bohr model, just is not correct. Everything is made of dipoles. This is my electron flood theory. And I can show you that these particles are light, and these particles are the photons, and they're made of black and white balls, and they separate at the Venturi that we created. And this is fission, and this is fusion. And that is exactly what CERN and Fermilab wants to see. And I believe if we put a solar harvester right at this point right here, and collected that increased value of energy, which is approximately 207 times is what CERN says, we could at least harvest a portion of that, and then use a very small part to keep the laser going, and all of that would be absolutely 100% free energy. No pollution, no worries about it running away, free. This is fission, and that's fusion. Fission and fusion. Cold, no additional energy added. Carry them around in a shoebox. Power out in the woods and water pumps and clean the environment and grow crops and heat the houses and run the cars and airplanes and every single thing there is. We've used nuclear power to destroy the Earth. Maybe we can use it to fix something. All right, here's how we got to the point of creating the fission and then the particle separation and then the fusion. And here it is. This is a pulsed red laser. Very, very simple. Very, very cheap. Just going through gases in the air. No vacuum, nothing. Here is that same wave, which is nothing more than a magnetic field, which is a particle creates a field. The particle's magnetic. Here is the particles. All right, remember I showed you them dividing, the black and the white showers went through and the black balls went around. Well, this is that event right here. This is that same particle I showed you, that little four-banger there. Boom! It explodes right here. Fission, fission. That means it breaks into pieces. The black goes around and the white can get through the Venturi because the Venturi is so tiny of a slit and the fields get so crushed that the black is just too big to get around. So we've created that. These are the Higgs fields, which we're looking for forever. We can get these bundles of them. And we've seen some very, very extraordinary events, but we have done exactly what CERN and Fermilab wants to see, and that's the black ball, which turned into a sterile muon neutrino and going around. It can't get through the slit. It can't get through there. It's just too big. It's a hammer. That thing is like a bowling ball. The white ones are gooey, and I can show you that too. The white ones are gooey, and here's the gooey white ones. You see them? The white ones are gooey. All right, they charge up when they're going through the forward-facing part. You see it right there? That's charging up, hitting these little tiny particles coming this way. This one is behind the black dark matter, and it is dark matter. It's dark matter. It's a muon, call it whatever you want. It's the other side of an electron. That is an electron. That is an electron. That would be considered an upspin. That's considered a downspin. That's all it is. Photons are two of them together. These will bounce off of you because they are semi-complete particles. They will spring back according to what they're hitting and how fast they're going and how charged up they are. That's all that is. Now, that creates light, and that's the particle I showed you, and I showed you the particle dividing. There's no question what I'm talking about here. To have CERN and Fermilab and all the people, oh, we're searching. No, they're not. They're just searching for money as far as I'm concerned. And I hate to keep, I'm just annoyed as hell. I got to be honest with you. This was 7 years ago that I showed this to everybody in the world. And I went to University of Geneva online through Coursera to talk to them about it. And they talked and they said, ooh, that's nice, have a nice day. And that was it. Everybody, the whole world is exactly the same. As far as I can determine, nobody's really that interested in truth. because it puts them outside of their sphere of influence and status and money, frankly. But this is going to change the entire world. This is not something that should be avoided. Please, somebody step up. Somebody's got to jump into this. Now, this is why Mr. Castro is so upset. This is Alice thing he's talking about. It's absolute nonsense. It's a large hadron collider, the ion colliders. They're smashing particles and looking at all this debris and seeing crazy looking things and making up all these things. Oh, they're gluons and quarks and tetraquarks and all kinds of names. This is what it is. It's a detector dedicated to heavy ion physics at the Large Hadron Collider, which Mr. Castro says he worked on. It's designed to study physics of strongly interacting matter at extreme energy densities, which give off huge amounts of radiation, which can be seen very easily in a cell phone, where a phase of matter called quark-gluon plasma forms. That's just nonsense. What happens to it is it breaks down and they can see a bunch of little tiny particles. And yes, call them whatever you want to call them, but the basic particles there is the black and the white balls. Two of them together, side by side, well, two of them together makes the electron, which we always thought was electron. We've never seen the black part. Now listen to this, what they say. All ordinary matter in today's universe is made up of atoms. Okay, I can go along with that. Each atom contains a nucleus. I can go along with that. That's the center. Composed of protons and neutrons, except hydrogen which has no neutrons. It only has the proton in the center. I'll show you my construction of that. Surrounded by a cloud of electrons. That's not correct. If you can call it, it is a proton because it's a stabilized number of electrons. That's all it is. Protons and neutrons are in turn made of quarks bound together by other particles called gluons. Those are the particles I showed you. These are what everything is made of. They know they can smash the protons into little bits. They see these gluons and all these other things they call them, but all they are is electrons. I've shown it over and over and over. Now they're generating temperatures of a bazillion degrees. Well, maybe we are too. I can see that we're having fission and fusion. I would assume there's a very, very high temperature in there that is only for like an instant in time. And if we can get a hold of that before it gets back to its dark side, we can use that energy free. See, Mr. Castro wishes he could do this. A Large Hadron Collider should be used as a photon collider. They see it just by accident. They see like 6 of these in a year and they get real happy. We see 100,000 a second. Now, this is about, look, they're colliding hundreds of billions of particles together, and then they're seeing a bunch of them collide and they're digging through the debris. Now, they really wanted to do in 1978. The physics of photon, which is what I use, collisions, has been a topic of interest for many decades. Yeah, I brought it up long ago. Indeed, a special meeting in 1978 discussed the prospects of these collisions, the LHC's predecessor at the LEP, which collided electrons with positrons from 1989 to 2000. Listen to what they say. These collisions are very clean as we're colliding photons. I show you very, very clean stuff. CERN looks at just trash. What I'm showing are the actual elementary particles from light. So I'm not starting with a pile of debris. So the elementary particles are not composite ones like protons. That's the key. And Joe Vararo, former deputy spokesman of CMS, who is heading the project. It was first proposed to do this type of physics at the LHC with CMS many years ago, but it didn't materialize then because they didn't know how to do it. We know how to do it, and they won't let us do it. Here's the other thing that's been annoying the hell out of me. They just keep saying, oh, you can't see this, you can't see this, you can't see this. Yes, you absolutely can see these particles. Physicists turn smartphones into pocket cosmic ray detectors. What do cosmic rays make? Muons. What are muons? Exactly what I showed you, those black balls and those white showers. Now, this is back to 2014. Same time Rod and I were doing this. They realize, it says, the apps basically transform the phone into a high energy particle detector. This is what Mr. Castro has no clue about. High energy means radiation. It means huge amounts of glow, and you pick up those in pixels, and then you make the pixel into an image. Now, as I talked about before, I think I talked about it on here, some phones have extremely good imaging and some don't. And I've seen both types. Some of them are very boxy looking, the particles, and some of them are perfect, like Rod's, what he sent me. Now, these are people that know what they're talking about. It uses the same principles as the very large experiments that Mr. Castro seems to talk about. Now, cosmic rays are nothing more than energetic subatomic particles, smaller than atoms. They're in the little light range. Scientists think that the cosmic accelerators, like black holes, exploding stars, that's where they come from. When the particles crash into Earth's atmosphere, they create showers of secondary particles, which I showed, called muons. Now, I can't believe anybody that claims to have any competence at all can just say that that's not acceleration. That was the particle in a wave, because the particle is magnetic, the wave precedes it, and it is starting to accelerate here because it's finding this Venturi in front of it. Now it's fully accelerated, and it's exploding at the Venturi. He says, oh, how can you measure that? How can you tell that's accelerating? If that's his intelligence level, there's no reason to discuss this. Now they say that they can't discuss it with me because I'm not peer reviewed. These are the kind of peers that review you. Who the hell wants to talk to somebody like that? I showed this to everybody. The same thing with Mr. Castro. That means nothing to him. Absolutely nothing. I'm showing light splitting here, fusing here. That's fission fusing, cold, on a desktop, no additional energy used, strictly by crushing the fields. Is exactly the same thing they do, except they're hitting them head on. We're forcing them to smash into each other in a restriction zone. And the black is too big to get through. Why don't they get it through their damn heads? We could have free energy within a month, off the shelves, in hands of people, done with like the Manhattan Project, where we're in the same damn boat we were then. Now we need to get out of this situation we're in, which is energy dependence.